Okay, locked and loaded, ready to go on this Thursday. It is the first round of the NCAA tournament. I'm ready to go, and I know Barry McKnight is as
my
well.
gosh. Yep.
A hotel room in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. How's it going up there today?
Man, it's going well. It all began yesterday. Great trip out of the Montgomery Regional Airport. It is the Midwest Regional first round, which is set to start tomorrow here from Fiserv Forum, where the Milwaukee Bucks play. And
I was wondering about that. I was thinking about that last night. That was one of the things I was going to ask you today. Is this where the Bucks play?
It is nice. Gosh, it's huge. We ate at a place last night. The team did, right across the street from the Fiserv Forum. You know, that's kind of the big thing nowadays with new arenas and stadiums, is not just the stadium, but you've got usually always these days have a little village around it with sports bars and music venues and amphitheaters and, you know, places to go they're like the Dave and Buster's and stuff like that. They had one of those here. It's so stinking cold up here. It's unbelievable. How do people live up here? I don't understand. But it is nice, and we are ready for the Midwest Regional first round, which actually begins tomorrow. Troy will have the third game of the day as the 14 seed against the Kentucky Wildcats tomorrow night at 6 o'clock. And I'm telling you, everything is first class. It's not my first tournament. I have broadcast from the NCAA tournament. This will be my third time. And every time I'm struck, boy, they do not they do not skimp on anything up here. We had a charter flight out of the Montgomery Regional Airport yesterday, and that's the nicest plane I've ever been on in my life. Good gosh. And then, you know, the bus to pick us up in the pouring rain in Milwaukee. I mean, velour seats and all this kind of stuff, and the hotel's super nice as well. So they couple of things that I noticed. This was kind of interesting yesterday. We mentioned that Alabama State flew out of the Montgomery Regional Airport. I was talking to the nice lady at the terminal. Everybody's nice at the Montgomery Regional Airport.
Yeah.
And I was, asking her when Alabama State left. And she said, well, you're actually the third school. She said Alabama State left out from here on Monday. Auburn left out on Tuesday. And, of course, Troy left out on Wednesday. She says, we've been so busy out there. And they know what's what. So far, the teams that have flown out of Montgomery are 1-0, but that's going to change today.
That's going to change.
So somebody's going to lose today.
Yeah, one of those teams is a 32.5-point underdog in the game that will be played at 150 this afternoon, as Alabama State and Auburn go at it in Lexington, Kentucky. 150. I don't know why it's 150. It's 150. So, if you're thinking 2 o'clock, you're 10 minutes late. Thinking 1:30, you're 20 minutes early. But it's 150 today.
It is 150. And that's the funny thing, is that it will start at 150. It is the second CBS game of the day. The first one will be Creighton at Louisville, and that will be at 11:15. Now, why they don't start the first game? It's the first game of the day, first one. Why don't they start it at 11? I don't know. They started at 11:15, which necessitates the second game to start at 1:50 on CBS. It is the full gamut. This was kind of frustrating for us yesterday. Our hotel here, which is super nice in downtown Milwaukee, doesn't carry True TV.
Whoa, wait a minute.
So we couldn't get it. I mean, we got useless channels like HGTV and MSNBC. I'm just kidding. We got useless channels, but
I don't get it. I had the same experience in D.C. About a month ago. They didn't have Fox News at my hotel. I'm thinking, are you kidding me?
In D.C.?
I mean, no true. Yeah, can you believe me? They had CNN and MSNBC on that network, but they didn't have Fox. But I don't. Now that you bring it up, not that I'm looking for it, but I don't think I've been in many hotel rooms that did have True TV. But there again, I'm not really looking. But that's got to be one of those deals. I don't know. The NCAA or CBS has got to figure that out. I mean, if they want to have this marquee event on multiple channels, you better make sure you can get all of them.
Well, the other story is very nice lady again at the Montgomery Regional Airport. She and I were talking before they got us on our flight, and she was telling me that again, Alabama State they left out of Montgomery Regional on Monday. Auburn left out on Tuesday, and Troy's leaving out Wednesday. And I said, I did not even think Auburn would be leaving out of the Montgomery Regional Airport. She says, oh, yeah. I said, we were doing a remote broadcast, me and my co-host, from the Montgomery Regional Airport yesterday morning. And she stopped and her mouth dropped. She says, Longshore and McKnight? I swear to gosh. And I said, yeah. She says, you're Barry. And I said, yeah. She said, you're the voice of reason. And I said, you do listen. Okay, yeah, there we go. And she says, oh, I've listened for years. My sons all listen. She says, now they're 40 and 33. But, and
wow, man.
Now that you mention it, and this is a quick story. Yesterday, I cannot believe I didn't mention it on the air yesterday because I always keep track of this. Yesterday, of course, was March 19th. And I always keep track of this, and I usually mention it. Ladies and gentlemen, it was March 19th, 1997, that I first walked into the office of this curly-headed young buck and introduced myself. I said, hey, I'm Barry McKnight. We'll be working together. He said, my name is John Longshore. It was 28 years ago yesterday.
Yeah. How about that?
That we first got this. Yep.
After I introduced myself, I said, hey, what do you think about an expanded playoff in college football?
Yeah. And I said, I don't know. I kind of like things the way they are. And he said, what? Well, let me tell you. And it all just mushroomed.
Yeah. How about
from
that,
there?
Folks?
And she says, I guarantee you, my husband watched the very first one. So we love the fans. We certainly do. We've built quite a few over the years, and we're appreciative of them. And she was one of them. It's always a nice feeling, John. Which Longshore and McKnight. I said
that is good.
Yeah. So hey, shout out to the Montgomery Regional Airport.
Yeah, that is awesome. Yep. And I was with some people last night, Barry, kind of our age, maybe a little bit older, and they were telling me how they found us. They weren't real familiar with what people are doing nowadays with podcasts and YouTube and Facebook and yellowhammernews.com and all of our outlets. And it was very encouraging and comforting to know, oh, yeah, I found you guys. Yeah, you better believe it every morning. So really appreciate that hearing from some of our older viewers and listeners as well. And that certainly means a lot. We appreciate it. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, tell your friends. Tell everybody what's going on with Longshore and McKnight over 28 years ago is when it all began for the duo. So keeping it going strong. Also today, Barry, being the first round of the tournament, you got to get your brackets in. And of course, it's very easy with the QR code. Gern can probably pop that up on the screen just to show you. One of the easiest ways I found, Barry, you just go to Instagram and you find Longshore McKnight and it's there. Yeah. So you can just go through that and hit the QR code and read what the instructions there, do what we ask you to do, and you can be the big winner. It's pretty simple. It takes, 2-3 minutes tops.
Yeah, even if you don't know what you're doing, you can hunt and peck and click, and it shouldn't be intimidating for those of you troglodytes who don't trust the internet or anything like that. Just drop down menu, click, name, tiebreaker, how we can get in touch with you with your winnings and all that stuff. And it's really easy, and you could win some big prizes, plus the aura, the swagger that you can attain by everybody, behind you as you're walking through saying, hey, that's Fred. Fred won the Longshore and McKnight bracket con. Really? He did?
You're exactly right, Barry. I mean,
not
only is the $1,000 travel voucher just unbelievable and getting you to really anywhere on the planet or certainly help you get there. That's amazing. But just, you're right. The panache, the cachet, the prestige that comes with it. I've told the story several times before, but I was actually getting on a flight at Montgomery Regional Airport. I wasn't able to weasel my way up to the first class cabin. I worked hard, but she wasn't buying it. So I was back in 32F over there by the lavatory. And as I'm walking onto the plane, I'm walking through first class, and this guy kind of taps me on the leg, and I look down, and he goes, "Tournament bracket challenge winner right here." Guy sitting in first class.
Yep.
I went, unbelievable. I mean, what are the odds? But yeah, he was sitting high and mighty up there in first class, sipping on a mimosas. I was going back to sit next to Olga and whoever else that needed a seatbelt extension.
Yeah, fighting to get a glass of water and a biscotti or something. You know, it's just
it's terrible.
Well,
but you know, Barry, that's a great way to do it. But I will say this. If you're like a lot of our listeners, a lot of our viewers, and I don't know, let's say you're watching or listening at, well, let's say 1:50 this afternoon.
Okay.
You're out. I'm just going to go ahead and tell you. Hate to be so blunt and upfront about it, but you're out. You're not in. You got to be in by 11:15 this morning.
That's right.
When Creighton and Louisville tip it up.
At 11:13, you stand a chance, I guess. If you're thinking, oh no, they're in the pregame show already. Yikes! They've already got it out to the announcers, who for that one is going to be Brian Anderson, Jim Jackson, and Allie LaForce. To me, that's blah 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 blah, and Allie LaForce. You still got a chance. 2 minutes, you can get it in. Don't give up if you're 2-3 minutes away from tip-off. But if you're 2 or 3 minutes afterwards, just go ahead and knock yourself in the head.
Yeah.
You're too late. There's a lot today. Last night, Mount St. Mary's beat American in Dayton in the first 4. The answer to some of the questions, Mount St. Mary's, as it turns out, is the Mountaineers. And American, we were thinking American cheese, American woman, American dads, something like that. No, that's right. They were the American Eagles, and now they're out of the tournament. Also, last night, Xavier beats Texas. Texas was leading in that game in the first 4. And that's a bracket that includes Troy. The winner would take on Illinois, and if and when Troy beats Kentucky, they would take on Illinois versus that winner. So it'll be Xavier who moves on, and now the word is that Texas is going to move on from their head coach, Rodney Terry. He is it's kind of tough because
you get your team to the tournament, then they're going to fire you.
The tournament. That's the first time John acknowledged that that's actually part of the tournament yesterday. Yeah. It is a meat grinder. Well,
maybe that's the problem, Barry. Maybe they needed to get into the tournament, and those Texas people are going, wait a minute. We're not one of these programs that gets in these play-in games, in these first 4 type games. That's beneath us.
Today, there are SEC teams in action. Alabama State and Auburn. That is from Lexington in the South region. That's at 1:50 on CBS. Yeah. Georgia and Gonzaga at 3:35. That's in the first round of the Midwest Regional. An 8 versus a 9 there. Tennessee against the Wofford Terriers in the Midwest.
That was the Moneyline Magicians sneaky play of the first round.
That's right. He's not picking Wofford to win, but he's picking Wofford to cover.
Arkansas, kind of like the Phantoms' daily dog last night. More on that later.
Arkansas and Kansas in the first round West Regional at 6:10. Texas A&M versus Yale. Don't sleep on Yale. Auburn did last year.
Woo.
That's at 6:25 on TBS. And then Drake and Missouri. Drake is a school. It's not the rapper. Drake and Missouri at 6:35 on True TV. And that's today in the SEC.
All right, so you mentioned TBS. Are any of these games on TNT? By chance, or is it just True TV and TBS?
TNT today. TNT today has got Montana versus Wisconsin, VCU versus BYU. Wofford versus the Wofford Tennessee game is on TNT, by the way.
Right.
And
just
then Utah State and UCLA. Yes.
Just wanted to make sure because the Law and Order marathons will certainly be preempted for the next couple of days on TNT, and then reruns of Friends and Family Guy on TBS will be preempted as well. And True TV, I don't know what they show over there. So if you're a big viewer of that network, you're watching.
Isn't that Bait Car? Instead. Is that not the Bait Car channel?
It is Bait Car.
Do they still have Bait Car? Because that was one of John's favorite programs ever.
That one and Flavor of Love might have been two of my favorite cable TV shows.
John likes looking at those guys, and they're trying to steal this car, and they got all these cameras inside of it, and then they start it, and they go about 100 feet, and the thing runs out of gas, and John loves the look on that guy's face when all of a sudden here comes the blue lights, and he's like, oh.
You know, now that you mention it, Barry, I hadn't seen it in a while. Probably some liberal politician said it was not, lawful, that you couldn't set these guys up, or,
it's entrapment.
It's entrapment. Yeah, something like that. I'm thinking, are you kidding me? Stealing something's entrapment? All right, so here today, Barry, we got a lot going on here on the Thursday program with the first round of the NCAA tournament beginning at 11:10 this morning. At the bottom of this hour, Jason Caldwell, Auburn Undercover. I know Jason's traveling. He's heading to Lexington. I know Auburn baseball is going to be in Lexington as well as basketball team today. So really appreciate Jason at the bottom of the hour. We'll go over Mississippi State's win total for 2025. How many can they win? I think they're set at 3.5, the second lowest in the league. We'll talk about that today as well. Rodney Orr, the Tider Insider, at the top of hour number 2, presented by the Destin Connection Seafood Market. Bart Heish, our college basketball insider, around 8:30 today. The Phantoms Daily Dog and the Victoryland Topic Wheel all set for today. So we got a lot happening here on this Thursday.
He is in the home studio. He's John Longshore. I'm Barry McKnight in Milwaukee, Wisconsin for the Midwest Regional First Round. In association with Yellowhammer News, it's Longshore and McKnight, presented by Bud Light.
Well, the Crimson Tide and the Auburn Tigers are really hot in college basketball, and so are the deals at Stivers Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram in Prattville. Alabama and Northwest Florida's largest volume Ram truck dealer is Stivers in Prattville. And at Stivers, they have the largest selection of Ram trucks priced at thousands less than other dealers. How about a 2025 Ram Bighorn 4x4 crew cab with savings of up to $15,000 off sticker price? Also at Stivers Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram, they have fantastic savings on the entire Jeep lineup, like the Wranglers and Jeep Grand Cherokees. Head over to Stivers Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram today on Cobbs Ford Road in Prattville, where Price sells cars and trucks.
Introducing Budweiser Zero. 0% alcohol, 0 grams of sugar, full Budweiser flavor. A refreshing alcohol-free brew that tastes like the real thing. Budweiser Zero. 0 alcohol, 0 compromise.
Don't miss your chance to win big at Victoryland Casino. Play the latest, hottest, most exciting games around with fun bonuses and big jackpots. Don't miss out on your free play. Stop by Player Rewards today and check out this month's exciting free play promotions. Come see why our players keep coming back. You'll have more fun at Victoryland Casino, where you can be a winner too. Victoryland Casino, located off I-85 exit 22, Shorter, Alabama. Must be 21 or older.
Welcome back in. It's Longshore and McKnight. We are live on this Thursday show. The tournament proper begins today. We didn't mention Alabama opens tomorrow early. It's the second game of the day tomorrow. Tomorrow begins at 11:15 with Baylor and Mississippi State. And then at 11:40, it's Alabama versus Robert Morris from Cleveland. It's nasty weather here, believe me. It is cold, and it was like 37 degrees yesterday with rain, a little bit of sleet and everything. Imagine how it is in Cleveland. By the way, if you don't have it, you better get it. True TV tomorrow for Alabama. And
I think I'm going to be listening to Chris Stewart on the air tomorrow.
It's a good thought.
Not very safe to look at your iPhone, YouTube TV while you're driving. I don't recommend that. So I think I'm going to listen to Chris.
Yeah.
And a game, Barry, that, well, shouldn't be that big of a deal, but there have been instances where 15s have beaten 2s. I'm not calling for that. I don't know anything about Robert Morris. I'll be the first to tell you. Had to Google them. But they're in. They could win. Emphasize could.
Yeah.
But they should not. I think Alabama's a 28.5-point favorite in that game I saw. I'll check that just to make sure.
Yeah.
But, Auburn's gone up a little bit. They opened at 31.5. They're at 32.5 at the moment. Alabama 23.5 over Robert Morris. Are they the Pirates? I'm looking at their logo. It looks kind of like a pirate.
The Colonials.
They're
the Colonials against the Crimson Tide.
And where are they located? Robert Morris, is that where?
Oh, I looked it up the other day. Honestly, cannot remember. And honestly, in about 30 hours, I will forget them again. So, there's all these. There's these George Masons, and they're in. It is right. You got George Masons, and you got James Madison's, and it's in Moon Township, Pennsylvania, which I couldn't tell you where Moon Township, Pennsylvania is. So
can you get,
that's all I got about them.
Yeah, I'm about to say, is it close to Philly or Pittsburgh? Or is it State Column? It sounds like a city that would be in the middle of nowhere.
Moon Township. Actually named after noted local cinema critic Josh Moon, I think. Not totally sure, but one of my it's near Pittsburgh. It's right outside of Pittsburgh.
All right, so that helps me out knowing that it's near Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
Okay. Kind of like that. And another note that I just wanted to pass along because I was a little critical of it. This series on Fox Nation called The Tides That Bind. They had this behind the scene all access to Alabama football last year. And it's kind of drug on a little bit, but I will say episode 4.
I like the season.
Yeah, boy, no kidding. Was really good because it really focused on Nick Saban's announcement in front of the team that he was stepping down and the process that Greg Byrne went through, telling the team, give me 72 hours. Don't do anything for 72 hours. They actually had a new coach in, I believe, in 49 hours. But it's really interesting because not only were the cameras around Saban the day he made the announcement, and then the behind-the-scenes actions that immediately went into place with Greg Byrne and majority of the support staff and athletic staff at Alabama, as well as clips in Seattle. They had crews in Seattle when Greg Byrne and his wife went to go meet Kalen DeBoer and his wife. That was real interesting as well. And DeBoer's wife tells a story about getting a text from Kalen and saying, we're leaving in 3 hours. We're going to Tuscaloosa in 3 hours. And she was in downtown Seattle. She pulls into Nordstrom's department store.
Right.
She feels like she's got to go buy Kalen a couple of red ties to take to Tuscaloosa. She picks 2 or 3 out, takes them to the counter, and the sales rep says, ma'am, those aren't purple. And she says, no, they're not. He goes, they're red. And she says, no, they're crimson. And the sales associate said, well, thank you so much for all that you've done here for the University of Washington.
And it was on the Tennessee Volunteer website within 10 minutes. Hey, we hear that a buddy of ours who knows this lady who works at the men's accessories counter at Nordstrom's in Seattle says that DeBoer's wife came in to pick out a couple of crimson ties. He's going. Yeah.
I thought it was interesting when they landed in Tuscaloosa. They're going through the Malmore building. The cameras are showing DeBoer walking through there for the first time, and you can tell he's like a kid in a candy store. He's looking around at that Malmore facility and looking at all this bling and all this kind of stuff in there. You can see it on his face. And Greg Byrne says really the only thing we forgot to do was to have a lot of gear waiting for DeBoer and his family when they landed. And I didn't really pay much attention to it, but when he addressed the team for the first time, he just had on some plain Jane gray pullover with no logo on it or anything.
Yeah.
And
that's how he dresses on game day too. So
But that episode was pretty good. Episode 5 was kind of dull. I think they could have condensed this into about 3 episodes, but they seem to like to drag it on, kind of like Netflix series do. But that was pretty interesting behind the scenes about because there again, Greg Byrne was at the meeting, standing in the very back, did not know what Saban was going to do. If Saban, started talking about spring workouts in the weight room and all this type of stuff, he was going to leave. If he got into this retirement thing, he knew he had to step up and get the plan started immediately. And he talked about the plan that he had already had for years when this day kind of came up. Thought it was also interesting that when Saban finally got around to it, he was emotional, as you can imagine he would be. He got a little choked up. A side of Saban that I don't think you've ever seen before. But there again, if you're into that stuff, I thought that episode was really good. But some of the other ones do kind of drag on from time to time. But it's interesting seeing how that kind of all played out behind the scenes.
So the first time that he had gone to the campus to formally accept the job and meet the media was the first time he'd ever been there.
Yes.
I was about to say, I'd have to at least go there and look around and check out the locker rooms and see the weight room and maybe, visit the cafeteria before I accept the job. But then again, it was 28 years ago yesterday that I walked in and met John for the first time, and we did a show that afternoon. So we've been, at it by and large for 28 years.
I don't know if Kalen DeBoer is going to hang around for 28 years, but hey, at least it's a good start. It's a good way to start everything. Yeah, he made sure he had Courtney Morgan, his general manager, on the plane with him, and his assistant that had been with him forever, a young lady, and she talked about she was getting a facial. She was at the beauty parlor. Yeah. And her phone's blowing up, but she's saying, I can't, I'm having a facial right now. I can't look at my phone. And she wrapped it up, looks at it, and her phone is blown up from Kalen DeBoer saying, we're leaving. Let's go. I want you to come with us. And
3 hours. Yeah. All the stuff you had planned this afternoon, done. You're no longer working there. 3 hours. Feels like something out of The Godfather or something like that. Witness protection program.
Yeah, it was.
That's the way it is, though.
Yeah, boy, you're not kidding. You're right about that.
That is interesting. It's on Fox Nation. It's not on Fox. It's not on Fox News. It's Fox Nation.
Yes. Yep. It's a. You got to pay for it. But Barry, I got my 30-day free trial, so I'm trying to get all these episodes in within 30 days, and then I can cancel it.
You and thousands of other people. Yeah, we have. I have not seen it. I am looking forward to taking a look at it. You mentioned, how quickly Greg Byrne worked with his assistants and all of that. Was there anybody from the REC there? Do you know? Would anybody? Do they have REC polo shirts and stuff, or REC caps that they wear around or anything? Is that a thing for them?
First of all, I don't know what you're talking about.
Understand? But, I got it. Yeah.
Just for discussion purposes, that was probably an element that they said that can't go on tape.
No. There's kind of like several other elements about the university that we can't acknowledge this.
Can't acknowledge. So some of those things, but I will say the production and the behind the scenes and what you get to see is pretty neat. I mean, it's stuff that most people don't get a chance to see. So that is somewhat interesting. I will say that. Well, hey, our man Jason Caldwell is in the green room. He's getting ready. A big game today, a big baseball series as well. Just happens to both be taking place in Lexington, Kentucky, and he'll join us when we return.
From AuburnUndercover.com, in association with Yellowhammer News, it's Longshore and McKnight, presented by Bud Light.
Phoenix Physical Therapy is ready to help patients recover, recharge, and rise. They develop a customized therapy plan for each patient to get them back to enjoying their favorite activities. Their experienced team is committed to providing exceptional care in a professional environment. Whether you're looking to prevent or treat an injury, recover from a recent illness, or recuperate from surgery, schedule an appointment with our clinic and take advantage of our physical therapy, athletic training, workers' comp, and employer solutions service. Experience elevated physical therapy today. Call Phoenix Physical Therapy at 239-9316. That's 239-9316.
Why Hands? At Hands Heating and Air, you get this area's highest ranked service provider with 24-hour repair service, no overtime charges, and their same-day service guarantee. Plus, instead of other companies' 30-day repair warranty, Hands gives you a 3-year repair warranty. Hands Heating and Air is here for you 24/7, 365. And service is not just something they do, it's their way of operating, for you in mind. All of Hands employees are trained to adhere to this standard. They work hard to ensure that this standard is maintained, and they are constantly looking for new ways to better serve you. Call Hands Heating and Air today at 508-5382. That's 508-5382, or find them on the web at 834hands.com. Already back in it, back here on this Thursday, about 29 minutes to the top of the hour. And Barry, as we mentioned, Jason Caldwell, Auburn Undercover, joining us here this morning as he does each and every Thursday. Big day for the Tigers. Hey, Jason, good morning. How you doing?
I'm good, guys. How about y'all?
Doing really well. Let's talk a little bit about it. Tony Madlock, the head coach at Alabama State, knows just about everything there is to know about the Auburn program. He was an assistant there for about 4 years, right?
Yep, 4 or 5 years. That's right. 2010 to 2014.
Shouldn't be any surprises. Obviously, Alabama loads more talented than Alabama State. What are they looking for today?
Yeah, I think for Auburn, you just go out and execute, and I think, knock some shots down, build a little confidence. I think that's the biggest thing you're looking for. Obviously, you got to go out and win a basketball game is the first thing. And, we've seen a couple of these 16s now win games. We've seen several of them for years go back and push teams. I think if you're Auburn, what you want to see is you'd like to come out and play well and have a little bit of breathing room. You don't want to have to grind one out on day one of the NCAA tournament. We've seen that happen before. And so I think for Auburn, can you go out and execute? You got some obvious advantages in this one. Alabama State has one big man, but he weighs about 190. And so you're going to have a big deal of room to work inside and a big strength advantage. But ball movement, all the things that you need to do to be successful, you need to start that today and get prepared for, and if you win, get prepared for what you would face on Saturday, and you need to start executing better.
Jason, I'm sure a lot of people are wondering, had some time to kind of rest, take it easy, kind of get ready for this run in the NCAA tournament. What about a health standpoint, and just how important was those few days of just kind of, getting your legs back under you, as coaches like to say?
Yeah, I don't know that we'll know that, and maybe for a few days or maybe a few weeks, we'll find out, because there is no rhyme or reason for success in an NCAA tournament. Sometimes you get a hot team like an NC State, in Auburn in 2019. But even in Auburn in 2019, you had to survive a first-round game against New Mexico State where they had chances to win. So, last year Alabama lost to Florida in the first game of the SEC tournament and makes the Final Four. So you just don't know. There's no rhyme or reason. I really believe that if you win today, I think, to me, the key is getting out of Lexington. I think this team gets out of Lexington, they're going to make a Final Four. But I think the most difficult part is getting out of these first two games, getting that taste out of your mouth, getting that feel back, all those things. And so, I think from a health standpoint, you should be about as good as you've been in a long time, because you've only had two games, in that short stretch in a matter of 2 weeks. This should be about as healthy as this team has been in quite a while.
Almost by definition, being the number one overall seed puts an absolute target on your back. People are making the point that Auburn comes in a little bit less than they had been earlier when they had really been peaking, losing 3 games down the stretch. What do you read into that, Jason?
Yeah, I honestly believe that this is the first time in probably 2 months that Auburn has some motivation, even though they're still the number one overall seed, because there's a lot of people going, oh man, you're not the same team. They're not going to win it. They're not this. They're not that. I honestly feel like they've now got a little bit of motivation for the first time in a while, and a little bit of kind of prodding some people, going, well, they're not this. They shouldn't have been this. Well, they're going to lose this game. I honestly feel like that this is probably, from a mental standpoint, the first time they kind of feel like, okay, all right, people are doubting us, even though this is not the Kirby Smart. Nobody believed in us, even though we were preseason number 1 and have 15 first-round NFL draft picks. This is, hey, people are actually saying that you're not going to be good enough. So I do think there's a little bit of motivation, even though you're the number 1 overall seed.
Yeah, I buy that too. I'm with you. New season, everybody's starting fresh, and I certainly buy into that as well. It's a long regular season. I mean, it's you kind of get, maybe, I don't want to say a little complacent, but it's a new focus, and it starts today at 1:50. And you got here, and really what happened to get here really doesn't have any bearing on what's going to happen over the next couple of weeks.
You're correct, and you're right. I do think, even though you're an older team, even though you're an experienced team, you're still 23, 24 years. Heck, it happens when you're 44 years old. If you start playing good on the golf course, you might get a little ahead of yourself before you go play again the next time. It's just human nature. And I think it was human nature for this team to go, okay, we're here, we're arrived, we're just going to go play, we'll be fine. Instead of, what, this is what we did to get to this point. And I think they lost a little bit of that feel for the game and sharing the basketball, doing some of those things. And you got to get back to some of that. Now, can you snap your fingers and get back there? I don't know. We'll find out. But I do think there's a different feel now that you get into postseason play.
Have you had a chance to take a look at the potential path for Auburn? A lot of people are making a big deal about having to play potentially Louisville in the second round in Kentucky, not necessarily doing them any favors there. Is it a conducive draw for what you're, for a path to the Final Four?
Yeah, like I said, when you get to this time of year, you're going to have to play some good teams, and so, probably the one thing is that you kind of feel like that 8-9 game is maybe as difficult at 8-9 game as you could have, for a 1 seed.
No doubt.
But oftentimes it happens, and we'll see today, but oftentimes it happens when everybody points to a certain matchup or a certain game, it doesn't happen. So everybody's pointing to Auburn-Louisville, and then Creighton winds up winning. We'll see. Creighton's a good team. Ryan Kalkbrenner's really good. Louisville has a really good backcourt. I still think Louisville wins because of their backcourt, and obviously playing a home game. It's going to be an hour or so away from campus. There'll be a lot of Louisville fans here in town today. You got Tennessee here tonight. Just a couple hours up the road from Knoxville. Yeah. There are going to be a bunch of people in town. And Kentucky women's basketball is hosting a regional as well this weekend, and then Auburn baseball is here. They got a bunch of stuff going on here in Lexington this weekend for sure. But the path you look and go, potentially get to Atlanta, maybe see Texas A&M, maybe see Michigan, but those are 2 teams that have difficult matchups early on. Everybody's talking about Yale. I don't think it happens 2 years in a row. We saw it last year. And if you're A&M, you go, we better be on alert now. But I think if you're Auburn, if you can get to Atlanta, you'll have some motivation no matter who you play. And that's the other part of this. This team has motivation. They talked about it yesterday. They remember a year ago. They remember losing a first-round game to Yale and how much that's been a focus since a year ago. I think this is a team now that has a little bit of motivation now to come out and see if they can make a run.
How healthy?
Yeah, and I got to tell you, guilty too, because I've been saying it all week, and Barry's tried to talk me off the ledge, talk some sense into me. I've just assumed Louisville's going to win too, Jason. But Creighton, you're right. I mean, I think this game, and it's later this morning, going to be real fun to watch.
Yeah, I think it's again, the Creighton has played a really tough schedule, and you play in the Big East, it's a physical game. That's the other part of this. When you get the NCAA tournament, how are games called? Do they let you play and get physical and do some of those things, or do they call it pretty tight? I honestly didn't notice them. I thought they let them play pretty good in that Texas Xavier game last night. And if they let you play like that again, it could be a little bit different style game. But, Creighton has a difficult, Louisville has a difficult matchup with Kalkbrenner because he's a big guy. They can finish around the rim. They got a couple guys that can shoot. But the one thing we saw this year when Auburn played at Kentucky, when Alabama played at Kentucky, this is a great shooting place. And so if Louisville knocks down shots, then all of a sudden it becomes really difficult because of their guards to knock them off.
We're less than a week away from the start of spring practice now for Auburn football. I'm wondering how you guys cover everything. You always do. Goodness gracious, there's a lot going on, Jason. We'll ask about this next week in our visit, but just a quick thought. What are the early points of emphasis you'll see or you expect to see in spring practice?
Yeah, this week they're kind of doing some walkthrough things, and technically the full team practices start Tuesday, but 2 or 3 days this week they'll go out maybe as a position group or an offense and walk through. So it's a lot of mental work kind of this week preparing them for those things. So obviously you look at quarterback and you go, man, how have they picked up the offense? Are they taking on leadership roles? I'm not really worried about are they on timing with their wide receivers and all those things. But you look at a guy who steps up and he says that guy's the absolute leader on that side of the ball. That's what you look for at quarterback in the spring from me. And then just the flow of things. But then to me, I'm really going to pay attention to defensively because you're going to have a bunch of young defensive linemen, new linebackers, and Robert Woodyard, DeMarcus Riddick that'll now be kind of taking things over. A really talented group on the back end of the defense with a bunch of guys competing. Offensively, you look and you add a couple of new wide receivers to a group that was already pretty good. So there'll be a lot of things to watch. Probably just the flow, the overall, the execution early on probably is the biggest thing.
Somebody just texted me, where are you right now, Jason, and what's your day look like?
Yeah, hotel room here, heading out just a little bit to get over and watch some of Louisville and Creighton this morning, and then get prepared for that, and then trying to decide if it'll be an Auburn baseball practice tonight here. They'll get here this afternoon. Try to maybe if I'll go watch them, but it's supposed to be 40 degrees at 6 o'clock tonight. So that might preempt my plans to go do that and then instead watch some basketball somewhere else. But a hotel room and then getting ready to head to Rupp Arena here and probably about an hour or so.
Well, I can tell you it's 36 degrees in Milwaukee, Wisconsin right now, and I ain't going out unless I absolutely
gonna take your run this morning outside. You'll be good.
Boy. Well, it's only 52 here in Montgomery currently.
Oh yeah, my heart bleeds.
Everywhere I've looked, it's going to be colder. It's going to be colder at 5 o'clock than it is at 7 o'clock this morning. So it's going to get colder throughout the day. That's for sure.
Ooh.
So I know you guys obviously you're there in Lexington, and let our viewers and listeners know, Jason, you're going to be on top of all of it. Obviously Auburn basketball, you mentioned the baseball there in Lexington as well. It's just so much coverage. Let our listeners know how they can find it, find out all that you do covering Auburn.
Yeah, you're right. We're here. Myself, Nathan King, Philip Marshall, all here in Lexington. So full coverage today. Photos, videos, all that from basketball today, and then have double duty in the rest of the week with Auburn basketball. If they were get by Alabama State today and win, then you'll have basketball Saturday and then baseball Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So we'll have full coverage, all that. Christian Clemente holding things down at home and doing football recruiting things and kind of getting us prepared for next week. Yeah, you mentioned it. We turn right around. Have all this weekend, pro day Monday in Auburn, interviews with assistant coaches, all those guys, and then first full team practice on Tuesday. And then if you were to win a basketball game or two this weekend, then you'd have a basketball in Atlanta next weekend, baseball in Athens next weekend, and football practice going on. So once again, you might have a chance to do some double duty if you win a couple of basketball games.
Final question here before we let you go. Somebody just texted me out there. What's your response to people who are complaining that there are 14 SEC teams in the tournament?
Yeah, I think this one was, to me, all set up by what the SEC did in the pre-conference schedule. They won those head-to-head games with other conferences. And like every other sport, there's only one way to measure the strength of a conference, and that's when you play other people. You can't measure the strength of a conference when you only play yourself. This was done by what the SEC did against the ACC and against the Big 12 and everybody else. So that's where the strength lies with this. And so that was the separator.
Right.
Do I think you need 14 in there? Probably not. But there were 14 teams that deserved it because nobody else had done anything either. The only thing you say is, hey, if you don't want 14 SEC teams in there, go win a few more games in your own league. That's it. If Indiana wins a few more games in the Big Ten, then you probably don't have an Oklahoma or a Texas in there. And so, again, it's always killed me a little bit, the argument over who's the 67th and 68th team is in the NCAA tournament. There's one answer: go win more basketball games. If you don't want that team in there, then you should have done a little bit more.
Yeah. Always good to visit with you, Jason. AuburnUndercover.com. Thank you so much. Enjoy yourself.
Yep.
Thanks, guys. Y'all too. Be good, man.
All right, man. Jason Caldwell, Auburn Undercover there in Lexington. Getting ready for Auburn and Alabama State later this afternoon. Of course, Auburn baseball playing as well. You know, the question I had, Barry, and obviously they're all over it. They're covering this along with all Auburn athletic events. Jason mentioned who's there in Lexington on staff. Who gets to room with Phillip?
Good thought. Surely, the NCAA cuts you a deal. I don't know what the deal is here. Obviously, I'm part of the Troy traveling party, so we get hopefully a cut rate. But as media members, do they get a break? When they're media covering, I would think they do get a hotel break.
Yeah, I would think so too.
I would have it in my contract, actually. Not that I mind rooming with anybody. I always am rooming with somebody, usually, is I don't have to have my own room, but I ain't rooming with Phillip. I'd put that in there, I'd make sure that I could point to my contract. When they hand you the room key, and it says Joe Blow, Phillip Marshall, I can look and I say, no, this is, see, here's my contract right here.
So you got to think of
Phillip,
it,
but man.
But see, I'm looking at it on the other side. That one-on-one time, the storytelling late into the evening.
That's what I'm talking about. Who wants that?
Instead of counting sheep, you could hear about all the great Auburn football games at Cliff Hare Stadium back in the 60s.
I always thought Doug Barfield got a raw deal, and here's why.
Oh,
great to have Jason with us.
Yes,
We're probably about 12 or 13 minutes away from a visit with Rodney Orr.
That's
the
correct.
Tiger
Brought
Insider.
to you exclusively about the Destin Connection Seafood Market.
Yeah, later on as well, Bart Heish, our basketball guru, coming up.
When we come back, Barry, speaking of Bart Heish, all you Mississippi State fans, we're going to go through their 2025 football schedule and tell you how many games we think they can win. Vegas has them at 3.5. Ugh.
And they may not even get there. We'll talk about it coming up. In association with Yellowhammer News, it's Longshore and McKnight, presented by Bud Light.
Local banking expertise, the newest innovations and technology, personal attention, genuine hospitality. It's all just part of the Riverbank and Trust difference. They invite you to experience it for yourself. Welcome to banking above and beyond at Riverbank and Trust. Locations throughout the River region, locations throughout the state of Alabama. River Bank and Trust.
All right, man, grab a Budweiser and take a knee. It is the best time of the year. It's baseball season. That means sunshine. It means behind-the-back peanut tosses. And it means sharing some cold, frosty Budweisers with your boys. Because there's nothing more American than watching America's game with America's beer. So let me ask you something. Are you ready to bring your A game? Are you ready to cheer every frozen rope down the line and amazing catch at the warning track? Are you ready for pitcher's duels and slugfests, Tell me, are you ready for the thrill of an incredible walk-off victory? I can't hear you. Are you ready for Budweiser and baseball? Then get on your feet, raise an ice-cold Bud, and let's make this season larger than life. Great times are waiting. Get some Bud!
Enjoy responsibly. Budweiser Beer, Anheuser-Busch, St. Louis, Missouri.
Dixie Electric Plumbing and Air rallies for you. No matter the problem, Dixie will tackle it. They're licensed and trusted electricians, plumbers, air and garage door technicians are ready to win for you. From toilets to garbage disposals, circuit breakers to HVAC systems, Dixie never fumbles. Don't throw away your hard-earned money on second-string contracting companies. Score big with Dixie. After all, they are your biggest fan. Visit calldixie.com or dial them up locally at 262-2946. All right, welcome back in, everybody. About 10 minutes to the top of the hour. Barry, I got a couple of questions. You mentioned so many teams that left from the Montgomery Regional Airport.
Yep, Alabama State, Auburn, and Troy. Yeah.
I got a question on our VIP text hotline.
Right.
Did a fight break out on the plane on the way to Lexington?
For Auburn, no. For us, definitely not. Definitely not. Although, okay, all right, yeah, no, there was not.
Also, if they didn't fly, did they travel by bus, and was there a one smoothie limit? I tell you, Barry, the hits just keep coming.
I'm telling you. This is from 2019, I think. 6 years ago, when Auburn baseball did take a bus back from the Chapel Hill Regional.
This was the football team that bussed back from South Carolina.
From Columbia, South Carolina. That was 5 years ago. And what was it? Philip, this had to have been like 8 years ago when Philip is Philip Marshall, AuburnUndercover.com, John's favorite writer, was complaining because he had heard, not that he had been there, Philip ain't hanging around, the Auburn Student Athlete Wellness Center over there across from the baseball field right next to Beard Eves, that there were a couple of football players who wanted a smoothie. And so they gave him one at the smoothie bar. There is such a thing. And they came back 15, 20 minutes later and wanted another one. And they said, no, you've already had one. Well, we want another one. We're thirsty. Well, if you're thirsty, there's a water fountain right over there. Don't know if it happened. Don't know who it happened to or anything like that. But Philip wrote about it, and it resonated among the Bama fans like you would not believe. Unbelievable. Wait a minute. They can't get all the smoothies they want? And I'm thinking, no. You know, I mean, you got a you're thirsty, get a Coke Zero.
You know, if you're a big-time program, a $5 smoothie is not going to put a big dent in your overall athletic budget. I mean, I'm looking at these spreads in these nutrition centers. They're throwing away enough food to feed an army at the end of the day on these buffet lines. I can't imagine a smoothie's going to kill them. But
this is John saying, you know, they're throwing away a ton of stuff. Why not throw away a smoothie or two? Yeah, that's John's logic.
If it makes the players happy, isn't it all about making the players happy? You don't want them to transfer. Hey, man, why'd you transfer? Man, can only get one smoothie a day.
Yeah, making the players happy.
Yeah.
Sometimes that gets you into trouble. Even the allegations of making the players too happy go on for a long time. Woo. Something about $180,000 or something kidding. Like that. So, yeah. Wow. Smoothies, I never thought I had to take a hard line. I said, John, this is years ago. John, I'm not talking about smoothies anymore. Done. Done. But smoothies, done. No. Oh, the avocado smoothie? It's no,
Now-
I'm not, the raspberry protein shake. No, I'm not doing it.
For
John.
the
I'm
record.
done with smoothies.
For the record, I want to give credit where credit is due. I would have never in my life
I
known
know.
about a smoothie situation if it wasn't for my favorite sports writer of all
Philip
time,
Marshall.
a guy that gets down there and gets the stories, gets the information that other people can't, and not only once
or don't care
twice,
about. Yeah,
he wrote about smoothies, and I went, "Wow!"
And that's the
this is a
reason
big deal.
why. If I'm at the hotel in Lexington covering Auburn for AuburnUndercover.com, and they give me my hotel key, and in the sleeve it says Marshall. No, I ain't doing it, because I ain't going to sit here and listen to him talk about smoothies and him talk about softball or soccer or something like that. Bill from Baltimore says, okay, dinky northern end zone scoreboard, which is being replaced. The curtain at Beard Eaves. What are the greatest hits?
Well,
Bill, you know as well as anybody. Lorenzo Diamond's Old Lady.
Hold on, I got him. Pat Dye's Pants at the Lake.
Yeah, Twilita's double fingers at graduation.
Yeah.
Oh,
Jetgate, Gunshot Diamond, Pistol at the Crystal.
For some reason, Gus Malzahn, like Scott Cross, enjoys a little Waffle House. And goodness knows, do I hear a lot about, I guess he must like Waffle House. Oh, like it's a funny thing. Terry Bowden's Black Book, goodness gracious.
Oh, yeah.
There's a ton of them, Bill. Believe me.
Bible College on the second floor in that mall in South Florida below the Foot Locker. Yeah.
It was next to the Foot Locker, not below it. It was next to it, yeah.
Yeah, Western Union at the Kroger.
No, let's not get started. We're going to have a whole show. Summer's coming. So we're going to save it for some of that. Yes.
Hey, can we quickly go over Mississippi State's schedule? Because I don't think it's going to take long.
It ain't going to take long. Let's do it. Mississippi State, according to, what is it, BetMGM.com. BetMGM.com.
Yep.
They've got all the posted totals from early. It'll change later in the year. And they've got Mississippi State's 2025 win total at 3.5. So what I do is I try to pick 4. Okay, where are the 4 wins? I'm not interested in what they're going to go. I'm interested in, can they win 4? And I'm looking at the schedule, and I'm not sure.
Barry, I don't see a conference game I think they can win. They open up the season with Southern Miss in Hattiesburg.
No, here's where John goes off.
Who goes to Hattiesburg? When are we kicking this team out of the league? You don't go to Hattiesburg. You don't go to South Alabama. You don't go to Troy. You don't go to UAB. They've been to every one.
They've been to all of those. Yeah,
I don't get it. Arizona State. They were a playoff team.
So Arizona State made the college football playoff last year. Lose a lot of guys. They played that one in Starkville. Can you imagine those Arizona State kids coming? Jitney Jungle. What the heck is a Jitney Jungle? Yeah.
Okay, so they're going to win. State. I'm going to say 3 of their first 4. So
Southern Miss, Alcorn State, and Northern Illinois. Although somebody in the SEC had a difficulty with Northern Illinois.
You better believe they did.
Yeah. Okay, so that's 3. We're still short a half game. They're not winning against Tennessee. No. They're not winning at Texas A&M. They're not winning at Florida. Goodness gracious, that's a tough stretch.
But they could beat Arkansas, but that game's in Fayetteville. I'm not so sure about. They play Florida and Gainesville.
They got a stretch: Tennessee, Texas A&M, Florida, and then Texas. 4 games in 5 weeks. Oof. If they're still surviving, then they may win at Arkansas. I don't think so. They've got Georgia in Starkville. Missouri on the road, then an off week before the Egg Bowl, which is on a Saturday this year.
It is on a Saturday, yeah.
But that is in Starkville.
All right.
I'll give Mississippi State a little credit. I'll give them they win 4.
Really?
I got them winning the 3 non-conference games we mentioned. I don't think they're beating Arizona State. And I'm going to give them Arkansas on the road. I'm giving them 4. 4 wins. I'm going over. Yeah.
Yeah, I am too, Barry. That 3.5. is a little low, but I think State's going to find a way. But 4 wins isn't going to excite the masses in Starkville. But I do think they're going to eke one of them out that, they're not supposed to win. They're going to do it. I'm with you. I'm going with 4 wins. That gets them over the 3.5 total at this point. It'll be interesting to see where they are when we do this again after SEC Media Day. So that's Barry, we are starting the second half of the leagues. We've done 9. This was our 9th team today. So we'll get this going again on Monday as we kind of get to the
Missouri,
the bottom and go with Missouri Tigers on Monday. All right, it is the top of the hour, and at this time, we always check in with Rodney Orr. He's going to be joining us here in just a moment as we wait on Rodney to hook up. How about this, Barry? Our good friends at the Destin Connection Seafood Market have proudly sponsored Rodney Orr, the Tiger Insider, since we have been on this format. We really appreciate David Scott and his great staff. Had a fabulous grilled grouper po' boy on Saturday. And we invite you to go by and see them, 3750 Norman Bridge Road in Montgomery, Crawfish Headquarters, both live and spicy boiled. Call Destin Connection today at 288-4272, and your order of live crawfish will be ready to be picked up tomorrow or Saturday. Or you can just come in the market today and or this weekend and get the spicy boiled crawfish. So make sure you go by and see them, your Crawfish Headquarters, the Destin Connection Seafood Market, 3750 Norman Bridge Road, 288-4272 is the number to call. Your order will be ready for pickup, whether it's the live or both live and spicy boiled crawfish or just any other order you may have, from their medium, large, and jumbo shrimp to their fresh fish that arrives daily from the Gulf of America. The Destin Connection Seafood Market is your one-stop shop for the freshest seafood in Central Alabama.
Proud to bring you Rodney Orr, TigerInsider.com, who has been with us for a long, long time. Rodney, good morning. How are you?
Good morning, guys. How are y'all today?
Doing well. I need a little help with my memory, John. Rodney, we were talking about a little while ago. Yesterday marked the 28th anniversary of Longshore and McKnight together on radio.
Wow.
And now on video. John, he's been with us even longer than that. He's been with you even longer than that.
Well,
right?
I kind of knew where you were going with this. So this August will be my 33rd year in media. And I'm telling you, Rodney, you were there probably in 32 years ago, if it wasn't 33 years ago. I mean, Rodney was one of the people that we reached out to.
I can tell you, first of all, congratulations on 28 years. That doesn't happen often.
No.
My TV show's been running 25 years straight. So anyway, very fortunate. So congratulations on that. But yes, I remember, John, the first time you called me and you said, hey, one of our advertisers for Prep Sports Weekly that you did every Saturday morning with Doug Amos.
Correct.
You said, heard you on Jocks and suggested you as a guest, and I started joining you then. And so it's been like ever since. And that was in November of 96.
Yeah.
So here we are.
Yeah, that's right. Man, unbelievable. It's been a long relationship, and we greatly appreciate it. Really appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, I know I've asked you this before, but I'm just kind of curious what the buzz around Tuscaloosa might be about it. I've mentioned this series on Fox Nation that they're doing about Alabama, The Tides That Bind. And episode 4, Rodney, was, I thought, probably the best one yet, because it was behind the scenes the day that Nick Saban announced his retirement, and then the plan that went into motion immediately that Greg Byrne had already, had written out, planned, wanted to execute it without any flaws. And I thought it was real interesting how the cameras were there showing all this. And also in Seattle, when they were there, talking to Byrne and his wife and Kalen DeBoer's wife and all of that. I just thought it was real interesting, and some aspects that maybe we had not heard about that this series is exposed for the fans to see.
Mm-hmm. I haven't seen any of them yet, John, but I did see the clip with Kalen DeBoer's wife talking about buying the tie, the crimson tie. Thought that was kind of funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the guy, whoever the salesman was, he was pretty discerning because he picked
Yeah.
up on that real quickly.
Yeah.
This isn't a purple tie. And she said, no, it's crimson. So yeah, I mean, I remember that time frame, extremely well. I mean, obviously we were all trying to follow it very closely. John, we can go back to that for just a minute. I'd been told at noon that day on January the 10th that first we were kind of expecting the potential of it happening because there was a lot of buzz about it leading up to the Michigan game. But everybody, I'm telling you, and they were being honest, people inside the building that I know really well were saying this is a normal meeting. All this buzz about Coach Saban stepping down, it doesn't have any validity. This is our standard after the bowl game or after the playoff meeting. And so I was thinking, okay, I'm still going to keep a real close eye on this. And I'll never forget, I looked at my phone. It was at 4:06 that Chris Lowe popped the tweet that Nick Saban is retiring. And here's the thing. A lot of people said that, okay, this caught everybody by surprise. It caught Greg Byrne by surprise. No, I don't know what the program you're talking about. Yeah. I don't know what they said on there, but Greg Byrne wasn't in that meeting for no reason. He knew that he expected this to happen. And you don't go hire a coach. We've seen it, John. How many times have we seen him bungle this thing up?
Woo! In 28 years, we've seen our share of it, no doubt.
Yes. Byrne was prepared for the moment. And when Saban stepped down, he started going into motion, obviously. And I think Kalen DeBoer, this was something that I had posted right before the Michigan game, that DeBoer had not signed his contract extension that was on his table, on his desk. I can tell you networks were on high alert, TV networks, for Saban to step down. So it wasn't, I think some people say, well, it just surprised it caught Greg Byrne. It didn't catch Greg Byrne by surprise.
And that's you get that in watching this. He knew it. He was there at that meeting, and he had if Saban started talking about spring practice and workouts and weight room, he was leaving. But if he got into something else, he was ready to get in front of that team and say, hey, give me 72 hours. Had DeBoer there in 49, I believe it was.
Yeah.
And also it was interesting how they had clips of national media talking about Saban stepping down, and nobody had a clue who Byrne was going after. They're throwing names out left and right, and nobody had a clue. Sarkisian, Dan Lanning, all the usual suspects, but nobody seemed to have a hard line on who it actually was going to be until it happened.
Well, I can tell you this too, John and Barry. I immediately, of course, I do my TV show at WVUA, which is located inside Bryant-Denny Stadium. It's owned by the university.
Right.
So I was immediately called to get over there. And so when I was over there, there were players that actually were telling us that evening that Dan Lanning was on campus. He was there. And we're like, this, no way, this can't be true. And I texted someone who I really confident in. I said, have you heard these rumors that Lanning is here? He said, yes, as of an hour ago. And this will show you got to be careful with text messages. I'm thinking he's saying he'd been there for an hour, right? So I kind of post a note that, these rumors are, I'm being told they're true. And he texted me back. And then he called me and he said, listen, I didn't say he was here. I said, yes, I heard that an hour ago.
Oh, heard it an hour ago.
Yeah. Yes, Barry. It was the text was confusing. That just goes to show you got to be careful.
Right.
So I immediately retracted, of course. But so anyway, with all that said, again, I was hearing Kalen DeBoer's name all the way back to August, that to keep an eye on Kalen DeBoer. And I know that a lot of people on Tighter Insider thought, okay, that later that in retrospect, they were saying you already knew it was DeBoer. Well, I didn't know it was DeBoer. That was just the name I was hearing the most. Very strongly.
Yeah.
Well, The rumor I heard, and I didn't see the clip that John's talking about on Fox Nation, the rumor that I heard is by the time the sales clerk handed Mrs. DeBoer the receipt for the Crimson ties, it was already on the Tider Insider open forum. That,
It probably was.
how much he paid for them.
And there in Nordstrom's or whatever the name of that place
Yeah.
was that she was shopping.
Yeah, I bet those ties weren't cheap. That's a high-end place, I understand.
What's the buzz on campus and among your people, your contacts, about Alabama's viability to really make a deep run in this basketball tournament? How confident are people in the Crimson Tide heading into March Madness?
Well, again, I'll kind of give you the pulse on Tider Insider. There's some really good, obviously, posters there on Tider Insider that have a really good feel for basketball. And, I think everybody kind of is like, okay, which Alabama's going to show up? I mean, if we look down the stretch, they've had some not so good moments. Of course, they were playing high quality competition too. But, if they get on a roll and play like they did against Auburn, I could see them going into that Elite Eight, just rolling in there and against Duke, and we'll see what happens. They have that capability. They have the capability to go back to the Final Four. And John and Barry, I don't know what you guys think, but I think this is a good draw for Alabama again. I thought last year was a pretty good draw. And I think this is a pretty good draw for Alabama right now. What I mean is you've got Robert Morris here, about a 23.5-point favorite last I saw.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And then you're probably going to play you're going to play either Vanderbilt or St. Mary's. I'm not saying that none of those teams aren't capable of winning. They are. All three of them could beat Alabama. But if you just look at it and say you play Alabama basketball, you're in the Sweet 16 and then, go from there. So I think they have a chance. A decent, really decent, good shot to get to that Elite Eight and maybe be facing Duke.
A lot of people are wondering about Grant. Oh boy, yeah. What about that? Grant Nelson. Certainly don't expect to see him tomorrow morning, I guess, in the game against Robert Morris. But after that, should we expect to see him? What are you hearing about him?
Sounds like he's going to be ready to play, and at least by the second game. Hopefully if they advance, and that's the general feeling is that Grant Nelson will be available at some point this weekend. So we'll see.
Well, Rodney Orr, TiderInsider.com. After some time off for spring break, Alabama football resumed spring practice on Tuesday. Our buddy Bama Greg on our River Region Straw Chat line wants me to ask Rodney how the quarterback competition is going. I'm hearing, this is Greg, he's saying that I'm hearing Washington transfer Austin Mack is turning some heads. I think he's like 6'6" too. What do you think?
Well, you don't have to turn your head to see Austin Mack. He stands out. I mean, he stands head and shoulders above everyone in terms of, like you said, he may be taller than 6'6". You know what? Look, here's the thing. I saw the report yesterday, and I'm not that Pete Nakos. I don't know him. He seems to do a really good job and has some good contacts and all of that. I think John and Barry, this isn't saying Austin Mack isn't performing well. I think all three of them have had some good moments. Had it through the first 3 days. I don't know exactly what all happened yesterday, or I'm sorry, on Tuesday, but they've all had some good moments and they've all had some not so good moments. I think that's fair to say. I think they're all viable candidates. I think that's fair to say. But here's the thing that you have to remember too. Some of these people doing the talking, and I'm not saying, when I say this, let me preface it, I'm not saying DeBoer is doing this, but I'm talking there are coaches, whether it's at Alabama or Texas or Notre Dame or wherever, coaches are protecting their rosters.
Mm-hmm.
So let me tell you, I do think coaches use certain media, to put out the message that they want. Now, there's also agents involved for these kids that put out information on how their guy's doing. Because let's just say hypothetically, and I hate to use Austin Mack really as an example, but let's say he has an agent. We'll just use it. Again, this is hypothetical.
Just as an example.
Let's say he has an agent that's going to go out and try to find him a place, and he starts putting it out that he uses somebody to get that information out that he's doing really, really well. Well, he's going to create more opportunities when this market comes open, right, for his guy to transfer. You got to think about that. You also have to think about coaches trying to hold their rosters together. They want all three of these guys to believe that you have a legitimate shot to win the job. And I'm not saying that they don't. I think all three probably do have an opportunity, a great opportunity. But you have to also look and consider that the portal is impacting some of this stuff that comes out.
No doubt. I think, Rodney, you're exactly right. It's almost like, you can't show your hand. You got to be coy. I heard we talked about, Ryan Grubbs talking about all three of the quarterbacks. Man, they look great. It's awesome, blah, blah, blah. I get it. It's a sales job. I mean, it's a little
Sure.
politicking going on because you want to make sure you keep them all there. But we know when that first game rolls around against Florida State, only one of them's trotting out there to call the play and take the snap.
Right. Right now, I mean, I think it's, and I'm not projecting ahead to Florida State, but, Ty Simpson's obviously the more experienced, and he doesn't have a lot of experience.
Right.
But Ty and then Austin Mack and Keelan Russell, I think that's pretty much the order they're going right now. And again, I don't think that really matters a lot right now, but where we are, I think Ty is in position to, if he can take the bull by the horns, it's probably he's the leader right now. So
with spring with spring break over, I know it's really pretty still early in the recruiting process, although with the early signing period, it's a lot later to be still early, but Alabama's going to have some guys in the next week or two, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they've done a really good job. Again, like I said in one of my updates here recently, spring is about building for next season, but it's also about building for the future because it gives you an opportunity to get guys on campus, to see you practice, to see the coaches in action, to get an opportunity to, draw a little closer in terms of relationships and all of those things and meet your players and kind of find out what your culture is. So they've done a really good job of getting top targets on campus back to the junior day. I think it was in February or late January. I can't remember the exact date, but and they're doing a good job now. And they've had some in here recently. The first week, I mean, obviously they had Nick Abrams, as an outstanding 4-star linebacker out of Maryland. He was in this week. Jamarian Matthews, who is a kind of a defensive end, outside backer type guy, probably going to grow into a bandit defensive end would be my guess. He's committed. He's out of Gainesville, Georgia, but he's at Sparkman in Madison. It's kind of weird. He's transferring over there. And then Caden Hall is a safety / linebacker from Milton, Florida. Those guys have been in already. You got guys coming in this weekend. It's kind of a junior day type event. Kevin Ford is a top-notch outside backer / defensive end, edge player is what they call them now, from Duncanville, Texas, 4-star rated player. Jordan Edmonds is one of the top corners in the country, maybe the number one corner in the country out of Marietta, Georgia, who was close to committing to Alabama about a month ago and decided to hold off. He's got offers flowing in. We talked about it. John asked me this question quite a bit. What about defensive line? Yeah. They've got 2 defensive linemen at least coming in, probably more. But a couple of guys of note is Elijah Golden out of Sarasota, Florida, one of the top defensive linemen in the country, and another guy, Noah Wilson, out of Picayune, Mississippi. Those 2 guys are coming in this weekend. A top offensive lineman, Sam Utu from Orange, California. You get the drift. They've got some top guys, and that's the key right now, is getting those top guys on campus. And then you set it up for the summer visits when they come back for official visits. And then that's when you'll start to see the commitments come in.
What's the story about NIL? I mean, I'm hearing a lot of rumblings about that. I know it's an issue at every school, but how big of an issue is it at Alabama? Are they where they want to be? Because I'm hearing a lot of things about NIL in terms of Alabama.
Well, are they where they want to be? Probably not. And what I mean is, John, I'm not really sure you're ever where you want to be. You're always trying to position yourself to be more or better. And so I think they're not bad. Based on things I heard, they're not in a bad position. They certainly can be competitive. They're probably not going to throw out a massive deal for one kid. That's just kind of the philosophy here. They're trying to kind of keep a balance on their roster. There are kids that could go other places. And this is true. I'll just give you an example. A guy that's a projected starter for next year. He's probably going to stay. He decided to stay at Alabama probably, and I'm going to guess for less than half of what he could have got at LSU. LSU offered him 1.6, I think it was. I'm talking about 1.6 million.
Wow.
to transfer. And he decided to stay. So, and I'm not talking about Ryan Williams, by the way. Everybody's going to jump to that conclusion. This is not even Ryan Williams.
Yeah.
So,
and it's interesting that you mentioned LSU, Rodney, because I've heard that, they said, look, this is our year. We got to get it done now. Kelly
pushing
realizes,
all the chips in.
Yeah, they realize they got to get, so they've kind of put the squeeze on their big boosters and said, look, we feel good about our roster, but we got a couple of other spots. If we can fill those in, solidify that, we really feel like we got a good chance. And I think we might see that from programs around the country unless we get this thing reeled in, where every 4 or 5 years they're going to go, look, we like where our roster is, but we need a couple of more spots filled. We need you to kind of come off the wallet one more time for us.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think that's true. I mean, I think it is. I think, heck, we kind of saw it with Ohio State last year, right?
No doubt.
I mean, they went in, plugged in Caleb Downs and Quinshon Judkins and a couple other guys. And of course, they were loaded with talent already. But, they plugged in guys where they need them. Will Howard, the quarterback, maybe not a great player, but a good player with experience at the quarterback position. I think you're 100% right.
One thing I did want to ask you, Rodney, before we let you go, and I know we're a little late on that, which is usually the case with Rodney because we always have so many good questions. What do you know about Pro Day? I know Jalen Milroe was there in front of the scouts and some of the coaches. I even hear Mike Tomlin of the Pittsburgh Steelers took him out to dinner that night as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's interesting. First of all, I mean, there's so much disparity on what he ran in the 40. Yeah, I think supposedly ran a 4.52 the first time, and then a 4.46, and then it's reported he ran a 4.37.
Whoa!
And I had to giggle, John and Barry. I assume both of you guys saw this, that somebody put out, well, multiple people put out, that he didn't run in a straight line. That he actually was weaving on his 40-yard dashes. So maybe they did a weave-aided 4.46 and changed it to a 4.37. How about that? I don't really know. But he obviously ran well. When you're 6'1", 216 pounds, and you run, he runs a legit sub 4.5. That's fast for a quarterback. Yeah. That's really fast for anybody, but that's fast for a quarterback. So, I as far as Tomlin and the Steelers, I know that they've been kind of flirting with that a little bit. Now, does that mean first round? Does that mean third round? I don't really know. I mean, you look at Milroe, somebody's probably going to gamble in the first 2 rounds. And I say gamble because it's going to be a long-term venture. It's not going to be, to me, you can't expect Jalen Milroe to come in within the first 2 years just based on what we see. Then expect him to be the guy that you're hoping to get in an early round. It's going to take some time. So whoever drafts him, if they take him that early, they're going to have to be patient and allow him to develop some more. Or we might see him slip into the 3rd round. I don't think he'll go past the 3rd round. He's just, first of all, he's too big of a name and too great of an athlete.
Right.
Somebody's going to snag him up.
I would say so. Rodney Orr, the Tighter Insider, let our viewers and listeners know how they can get more information with all you do there, Rodney.
Right. It's tighterinsider.com. It's only $48 a year, and you can get instant access with your credit card. If you prefer, there is an address there to send a check. Gives you all our premium information. We're going to have recruiting here, in the next day or so, previewing what's coming this weekend. And then our All Sports Forum. That's our community of Alabama fans there. There's a lot of great information exchange there on tighterinsider.com.
Thank you so much, my friend. We always appreciate it. We'll do it next week.
All right, guys. Look forward to it. Take care.
You too, buddy. Thank you so much. That's Rodney Orr, the Tighter Insider, brought to you exclusively by our friends at the Destin Connection Seafood Market, Crawfish Headquarters, both live and spicy boiled. Call today, 288-4272 to order the live crawfish to be picked up tomorrow or Saturday, or just come by the store, 3750 Norman Bridge Road, and get the spicy boiled crawfish. Got to check it out. Your seafood headquarters, the Destin Connection Seafood Market. Barry, when we come back, the Phantom's dog of the day. And in about 7 or 8 minutes, I believe Bart Heish will be joining us.
10, 12, 14, 16 NCAA tournament games today, starting at 11:15 this morning. Will the dog of the day come from the big dance? Don't go anywhere. And John is at his home studio. I am in Milwaukee, Wisconsin for the Midwest Regional First Round, which starts tomorrow here in Milwaukee. Troy in Kentucky at 6:10. In association with Yellowhammer News, it's Longshore and McKnight, presented by Bud Light.
Hey, Marianne from Marguerite's Exquisite Jewelry joining us here today. Of course, Marguerite's 8163 Vaughn Road in Peppertree. And Marianne, tell us where you are today. That's a very interesting piece of equipment I see.
Exactly. Yeah. I promise it's not growing out of my head, but this is our microscope. We're not in the science lab, but jewelry, as you know, has lots of different components. And at Marguerite's, we have a fully trained staff. Myself and Benji and Lyle have all gone to GIA, which stands for the Gemological Institute of America. I did my training in Carlsbad, California. Lyle and Benji did their training in New York. And they train us to look at the anatomy of a diamond or the anatomy of a gemstone. So we look through this microscope and we can do other tests like RA and different things with acids and different types of chemicals, and through different types of magnification and UV light, we can tell if a gemstone is in fact natural or synthetic or what type of stone it is. If great grandma had this green stone that she wore every day, we can tell you if it's an emerald or a peridot, lots of different things. But again, just like we've said before, we're a full service jeweler at Marguerite. So we can help you get in the know when it comes to your stone, tell you about the anatomy of your diamond, or tell you what the heck it is.
Yep, that is fantastic, Marianne, a full service jeweler. That's so important. Where are you located? Give us your hours of operation so our viewers and listeners can come see you.
Most definitely. 8163 Vaughn Road in the Peppertree Shopping Center. We're close to Chappie's Deli. We're open 7 days a week, 10 to 5:30, Monday through Friday, 10 to 5 on Saturday, and noon to 5 on Sunday.
Go by and see them, folks. Marianne and that staff can help you with all of your jewelry needs. Thanks, Marianne.
Thanks.
Man, great information, great items of jewelry there for you at Marguerite's. Go by and see Marianne and that staff. They do a fabulous job. Marguerite's Exquisite Jewelry, 3750 Vaughn Road in Peppertree, adjacent to Chappie's Deli. Open 7 days a week. It's very important.
Don't you get excited? I mean, today's the first day of the full tournament action in the NCAA tournament. Everybody needs to get their brackets in. They're working on it. Let's see. Yesterday in the Phantom's Dog of the Day, we went with Rockets. Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I was just going to say, you mentioned the tournament beginning today. It just reminded me, one of the best most fun times I've ever had in Las Vegas
Which
was
is
the
saying
opening,
something, by the way. Woo!
was the opening round of the NCAA tournament. You can have the Super Bowl, you can have the AFC and NFC championship weekend, but the start of the NCAA tournament on Thursday, which is about 9 a.m. Pacific Coast time in Vegas,
right.
And it is game after game after game. The sports books are loaded up, action on every game, and it lasts for 4 days straight. I'm telling you, it is a really fun time. People think football in Vegas when you go into a sports book, but I'm telling you, the tournament, when it starts today on Thursday and their games wall to wall to wall, it is a ton of fun. Okay, yeah, the Daily Dog yesterday.
Yeah. We went Rockets Magic. Was that it?
No,
the Magic was it. That's right. Magic was like the day before 2 days ago. Heat Pistons from Miami. That's right.
Yeah. You know, babe, we talked about the Heat had lost 8 games in a row.
Yes.
8 in a row. Guess
John
what?
asked me, he said, how do you lose 8 in a row in the NBA? I said, very good.
You know what, Barry? They lost their 9th in a row last night. 9 straight games. 9 times.
It was tied.
Uh-huh.
And all-star for the Detroit Pistons named Cade Cunningham, really good player.
Yeah.
Hits a three-pointer 24 feet away off the backboard.
Boom.
And Detroit wins it. Detroit wins it in Miami, 116-113 at the Horn. The Phantom says, good for them.
You know,
good job.
Ninth straight loss for the Heat, Barry. And I know this might not come across as being very sincere. I mean, I hate it that Miami lost last night. I mean, I feel sorry for those guys, you know.
He does not. Not a bit.
But they covered.
Yeah, John says, good for you, Detroit.
Yeah,
good for you with that victory.
Love that you hit that 3 off the backboard, Detroit, but I'm even more pleased that Miami was able to cover the 5.5. The Phantom's Daily Dog is a winner last night. So what does the Phantom have in store for today?
All right. Got to be a tournament game, right?
As Bart Heish eases up to the camera to listen to this one, he's very interested. Who can it be?
He's got his pen ready.
Yeah. We're going CBS 6:10 tonight.
All right.
6:10 tonight on CBS.
Oh, out in the West.
Yes. Where the Arkansas Razorbacks are facing the Kansas Jayhawks. Arkansas catching 5.5 tonight. You know, Cal has had a little trouble in the first rounds of NCAA tournaments of late.
He has, yes. For some reason, this is the West Regional, but it's in Providence, Rhode Island.
Yeah,
and that's kind of Cal's. That's kind of his area. That's kind of his home place. You know, so.
It is kind of his place. Good point. That's a good observation there. He's kind of back home, if you will.
Sure.
So he doesn't start off on the bad foot as he ended his Kentucky career, bowing out early in NCAA tournaments. He wants to give the Hawks fans something to be excited about. It's been kind of a tough year. They've been up and down.
Right.
And Kansas definitely hasn't been the same Kansas that we've seen in years past.
No.
I mean, Bill Self just hadn't been himself lately. I mean, you know, that's the easiest way I can put it.
Yeah. What do you got?
It wouldn't disappoint me if Arkansas lost the game, but I think they can keep it within 5.5 against Kansas.
5.5 is what I've got.
We got the Arkansas Razorbacks plus the 5.5. It's like a home game for Cal almost.
Yeah.
Against Kansas. We like the Hogs.
In Rhode Island. CBS 6:10 tonight. Tomorrow we'll celebrate together because I love that one.
Is that Bart Heish shaking his head? Is he shaking it going, no, that's
nodding his head. Yeah.
Nodding his head. Okay.
He's coming up next, so get your seatbelts on. Bart Heish, our resident basketball guru, joins us when we return. I am in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, a stone's throw away from Fiserv Forum for the Midwest Regional First Round, which starts tomorrow. Troy versus Kentucky at 6:10 on CBS tomorrow night. John is at his home studio in association with Yellowhammer News. It's Longshore and McKnight, presented by Bud Light.
All guests of Longshore McKnight appear on the City of Montgomery guest hotline. Check out the most interesting and informed personalities in sports covering Auburn, Alabama, Troy, ASU, and all the major teams from across the country. John and Barry have the best guests brought to you by the City of Montgomery. To find out everything you need to know that is going on in the capital city, check out montgomeryal.gov. That's montgomeryal.gov, the capital of dreams.
Introducing Budweiser Zero. 0% alcohol, 0 grams of sugar. Full Budweiser flavor. A refreshing alcohol-free brew that tastes like the real thing. Budweiser Zero. 0 alcohol, 0 compromise.
The Destin Connection Seafood Market offers the freshest seafood direct from the Gulf of Mexico with deliveries daily. Snapper, grouper, pompano, flounder, copia, along with medium, large, and jumbo shrimp, hand-picked crab meat, and chucked oysters. They can even cook your order for easy, quick pickup. The Destin Connection can make a po' boy with any of their seafood items that folks in New Orleans rave about. Go by and see them at 3750 Norman Bridge Road or call 288-4272 for pickup orders.
Okay, back at it. Here we are, about 25 minutes to the top of the hour. Our college basketball insider, Bart Heish, number 22 for the Mississippi State Bulldogs, part of that Final Four team. Bart, good morning. How you doing, my friend?
What a beautiful morning. That coffee tasted real good. Thought about Barry McKnight calling a tournament game up in the Northeast. I mean, we got Phantom picks coming out.
Yeah, I'm telling you.
Just sit right here. Will y'all stay on all day? And I can put the game on and just listen to y'all talk all day.
Hey, man, Bart is here for it. Let me tell you. Golly, where do we start? First of all, I got to ask you about this. I was just texting us a little while ago with my buddy JT Crabtree, who does the radio broadcast for South Alabama. Go through that. They got hosed, Bart.
So, gentlemen, there's times in life to where mistakes are made, and a lot of them typically made by the NCAA.
Right.
But it's awful. Somebody needs to be fired. The system needs to be tweaked, whatever. But I just try to focus, kind of like in my first marriage when it went bad, and I probably didn't do everything wrong, but I just focused on what I could have done and how I could act.
Right.
And I'm just proud of how, Coach Richie Riley and Joel Erdman. Dr. Joel Erdman is one of the nicest, realest, truest men that I've ever met. And he's been so nice to me. And his answer, just the whole look, it's terrible, it's awful in a nice way, but then said, that is not going to take away from us hanging a banner, what this coach did, what this team did, it's inexcusable. And what's ironic, though, is the first year the NCAA takes it over.
Yeah, this is Gavitt and Keith Gill and everybody. John, South Alabama, Cal Riverside was offered a bid to the NIT. They didn't answer positively, so they offered the bid to South Alabama. South Alabama says, yeah, absolutely, we'll do it. Can we tell our players? They said, sure, tell the players. Then Cal Riverside got back and said, oh, yeah, we want to be in it. So they had to call South Alabama back and said, oh, yeah, that bid we gave you for the NIT, it ain't happening. Their season's over, and they had to go back and tell the players. That
sounds like some of that political jockeying that old Longshore has going on down there in Montgomery, isn't it? Little backdoor hand greasing.
Yeah. I mean, it kind of reminds me of a plane flying to Sellers, Indiana to talk to a coach, trying to keep the current coach not aware of it.
No. How do we
on Auburn game day. On Auburn game day.
I'm telling you, that's my man. That's my man right there. On a serious note right now, we've asked this question before. What is your response to all the national media who are lamenting the fact that there are 14 SEC teams in the NCAA tournament?
I mean, what are they lamenting? That the league was 87%, 85% win percentage pre-conference, it's kind of skewed because we're never going to see it again. We've obviously never seen it from a conference. We're never going to see it again. The dominance of what the league did preseason pre-conference season.
Right.
We heard it, but I don't think we really grasped the fact that there was no way that anybody was going to be able to catch up to that, especially like in an ACC or a Big East that you're trying to climb to the top when there's just not anybody above you that's ranked high enough to really affect your ranking. I was surprised last night, but here's what I think you're going to see. I think the Big East is better than we think. I think that's the one league, and that's going to be St. John's, Creighton. Marquette is a team that I'm really high on in this tournament. They'll probably be my Illinois from 3 or 4 years ago.
All right.
How bad that was.
All right.
But I just don't think that – I think the league's going to go worse than like 10-4, right, maybe, or 9-5. Even if you go 9-5, you still got 9 teams in the SEC tournament in the final 32, right? So teams are going to lose like last night, and teams are going to win. But there's so many teams in this, and there's so many high seeds. When you get to the final 8 or final 4, you're going to see 4 or 5 SEC teams and 2 or 3 SEC teams with a chance to go just because of the numbers. So all the people that are upset and how did they get in, all these teams, Georgia, Arkansas, Oklahoma, Texas, they played their way in a difficult league. They won the games in front of them at the end of the year that they had to win to get in. So I don't see how anybody could be upset about any SEC team that's in.
All right, you mentioned Creighton, Louisville, Marquette. That's the side that Auburn's in. A lot of people are saying Auburn's got maybe the toughest path because of some of the teams you just mentioned.
And the venue.
Exactly. Your thoughts about Auburn's success based on where they're seated?
I think it's exactly what Bruce would want, guys. I think it's they weren't the same Auburn after Broome got hurt. Now, they had guys step up in that area, but the domination we saw from Auburn earlier in the year was no different than the domination we've seen from Florida here at the end of the year, and we're treating it differently because it's recency bias at the end of the year.
Right.
But I expect Auburn to fully recover in these first 2 games. I think Bruce likes where the motivation aspect of what his team's been through. They had already clinched the league. To just have to get back up and play your rival after you've already beat them, even if it is Alabama at home. Alabama wanted to play that game in the jungle more than Auburn did, John Longshore, and they went and got it, and they proved that. And so I think all those aspects, the way that a Tennessee is playing better than we've seen them play probably in 4 to 5 years for Rick Barnes. This is the best Tennessee equipped team to go to a Final Four that I've seen Rick Barnes have. I like how Tennessee attacked Auburn, and Auburn just did not look – they looked about 75, 80% to me in that tournament the whole time. I think the urgency is going to be back. What they've got to have happen, Baker Mazara's got to get that edge back. Whatever you got to do to get that, that's the one thing that causes other teams problems more than anything else that we're not seeing. Chaney Johnson, early in the year, I told you how good he was in the post. People have figured out to scout on his left shoulder, force him to go over the right shoulder. He hasn't been as effective. And that makes you not post deeper when you're not used to scoring those touches. And so he hasn't been as effective. And I think Pettiford's got to be huge. I love everything about Auburn's guards, their length, how old they are. But the offensive spark on the perimeter comes from the freshmen. Yeah. And those 2 guys, Pettiford and Chaney Johnson, and then mix in Baker Mazara getting back to normal. Guys, I think you're going to see it because I just think this Auburn team has been too good all year. And anytime Bruce has any small thing to motivate his team that people don't believe in him, he typically thrives. I think they dominate the first 2. The game I'm worried about for Auburn is Michigan because Dusty May's been there. He's got Final Four pedigree. Golden, the big inside, played with Denver Jones at Florida Atlantic, the kid that he brought with him. So I feel like Michigan is that team, even there with A&M, they have size. They have a guard that played at Auburn that knows the system. Right?
Yeah, Donaldson. Yep.
I don't think Michigan beats Auburn. I've got Auburn going to my Final Four. I think Auburn dominates these first 2 round, guys. I think Creighton beats Louisville, even though it's up at Louisville. I thought both of those seeds were 2 or 3 spots too low. Louisville seed was ridiculous that they were down to an 8. And here's the thing about the last thing about the seeding. If you're going to put Auburn and Louisville together, put them in Raleigh. And don't put
not in Rupp, yeah.
And Auburn's East. Now, I think somehow my partner was saying that Bruce Pearl chooses where he gets to go in that setting. I don't necessarily know that that's correct. Yeah. But at the same time, guys, I like Auburn. I would like Auburn to make a national championship run if they to get to the final game if they were on this other side of Florida.
Yeah,
I just don't. I like Florida boys.
Yeah,
Bart Heish. I'm not sure Bart will even watch Robert Morris, Alabama tomorrow because he's going to be locked in on Baylor, Mississippi State, first game of the day tomorrow on CBS. But I do want to ask you the same question.
Hey, he's got quad box going. You kidding me? Bart's going.
I don't even know that he's going to do that.
I'm going to the game, so I've got this helmet. You know, with them helmets, it's got the 2 beers coming on the side of it. I got TVs coming out my helmet when I'm walking.
Being in Raleigh.
What
the same question about Alabama's path that John asked about Auburn.
I can't trust Alabama or Duke really until I see the injury deal. I mean, Duke ain't going to be – look, guys. Number one, Duke ain't going to be the same team if Cooper Flagg ain't 100%. He cures a lot of evils. Same thing for Alabama. Grant Nelson is the most important player in the tournament for a team maybe in that side of the bracket, including other than Cooper Flagg. What Grant Nelson is able to do, I saw this 2 years ago, Barry, whenever Grant Nelson first got there, when Alabama came to Starkville, Nate Oates was not going to bring a double team on Tolu Smith. He just was not going to do it. Just like you don't call timeouts. He was going to make Grant Nelson guard in the post, get stops in the post, become a better defender. He's not a 5 guy, but he guards the 5 all the time. Alabama gets real thin if Grant Nelson is not out there, number one. Number two, if he's not healthy. But the other thing he does is he stretches the other team's big. So he gets the other team's big out of the basket so you can shoot 3-pointers. And he's a matchup nightmare off the dribble that can go create as well. He's a two-way player. His health to me is as big of a story, if not bigger than Cooper Flagg on that side of the bracket, because I don't know how hurt he is. They're saying he's fine. Look what happened in that game. And Alabama kind of quit after he got hurt. They were down 1. They were down 1 point. And then the depth catches up with Florida. I like Alabama's draw other than St. Mary's. I don't like that game if St. Mary's beats Vandy. Just because of style and tempo. Mm-hmm. Like the only thing that can slow Alabama down is like what Ole Miss or beat Alabama is if you slow them down and limit their possessions and make them turn it over. St. Mary's can turn you over. It's a weird defense. They've got a rim protector. Randy Bennett may be the most underrated coach in America that nobody talks about. And guys, nobody's talking about St. Mary's or Gonzaga now that Gonzaga's not up at the top. And I'll bet you that Randy Bennett doesn't like that. Gonzaga won the tournament. They got a chip on the shoulder. I like Alabama to advance through because I think Vandy can beat St. Mary's, but I'd be very careful if I'm Alabama in that second matchup if it is St. Mary's.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I've heard some talk about that possible St. Mary's matchup as well. And I'm with you. We've talked about it, Bart. I mean, we've seen Alabama be Jekyll and Hyde. I mean, one night they look great. If the threes are hitting, if they're playing good defense, they're hard to beat. But I've seen them look bad in some games too. So, does Nate Oates have a magic wand to turn the switch and get this team to play how they've got to play to win through the remainder of the tournament? Because if they relapse to some of the games we've seen them play, they could be home by Sunday.
It scares you a little bit because there's two things Alabama doesn't have. They do not have defensive length on the perimeter, and they cannot protect the rim unless they do it collectively. It's about the threes for Alabama. Right. And then you start turning the ball over, and it's just like a whole random they don't even look like themselves. Yeah. I think this is a different team. When Reitzel went out, and I know y'all hear me talk about it all the time, just like Nelson, for Nate Oates' system to thrive, you got to have a big that's versatile that can guard, step out, be a matchup problem, make shots. And then you got to have a wing player that can guard 3 positions, 1, 2, and 3 on the guard and make open jump shots all the time. That was right. So it's kind of young blood kind of the same type player, but experience matters. And like, you got to think about how many guys from Alabama have played in this tournament, 2 or 3. Stevenson's got to play, guys. Stevenson's the guy last year that stepped up, made shots. Yep. Is it Youngblood? Look what Youngblood did at Mississippi State. He came to Alabama for a reason. Tuscaloosa kid. He's writing the end of his story. Mark Sears, because of the Final Four, in my opinion, has to go on the Mount Rushmore of guards that have ever played in the state of or in the history of the school. But I'm always come back to my guy from Baker, guys. There is one pro on this Alabama roster that's high above everybody else, and that's LeBaron Fallon. And it ain't close.
Yeah.
When LeBaron Fallon's playing better, he's playing the minutes. He's the whole key to make. If he becomes a household name, John Longshore, in this tournament, then Alabama can go back to the Final Four.
There you go. I like it. Got just about a minute and a half here. There's usually always a 3/14 upset. Troy plays Kentucky tomorrow night at 6:10 on CBS up here in the Midwest. First round. Is Kentucky vulnerable?
Absolutely, Kentucky's vulnerable. Barry Longshore, Barry McKnight. I am officially. I waited till today. Yesterday, I officially, in front of Ron Slay, put Rick Barnes in Tennessee in my Final Four, and I know y'all can't believe that.
Whoa!
I see something different. I stopped the presses, but I see something different in that Tennessee team, guys. Matchups they're playing. They got 3, possibly 4 scores now with Milicic and Gainey. But I'm on the train of Troy. I like Troy today, Barry. I like Troy today.
There we go. That's what I'm talking about.
I like Troy because Kentucky can't guard anybody, and they damn sure can't guard nobody at the rim. And Scott Cross's team is tough enough to get stops in the half court against Kentucky and make them one-dimensional. Kentucky doesn't run. And Troy sure isn't letting you get out in transition and go out and get buckets. I think the play of fears on the interior, he needs a double-double. He needs to affect shots, have at least 3 blocks, and then my guy Thomas Dowd goes off for about 12, 8, and 5. And I think the Troy Trojans come through. John Longshore. Let's give it up for Barry McKnight going to get a win.
I just got a text from the Phantom. He said, "Whoa, wait a minute! Don't be releasing my pick for tomorrow today."
Hey, Troy has played not just consistent basketball. They have played winning basketball from an ingredients category the last, month and a half, 6 weeks, except for maybe the Texas State game.
Right.
The Texas State game, and that was really the only lapse that I feel like they haven't been where they wanted to be. But I got to give a shout out to my guy, Larry Cordero.
Yeah.
I was doing it.
He's right down the hall.
I gave him a shout out this morning. I was doing an interview for Sean Fox down in Louisiana.
Oh, yeah.
And I was talking about this game. And Larry was listening, and he sent me a clip of the interview. And so, Larry Cordero, I've known you a long time, man. I know the Coach Cross and just the program, Barry, you special time to be in the tournament, man. Hey, and y'all can go get this win now, and I'm expecting you to do it.
Appreciate you very much, Bart.
Yeah, we're going to have to quit talking about it, though, Bart, because I see that number dropping in Vegas. But
just because of what Bart's talking about.
Yeah, just already dropped it. Did he drop a half a point?
Bart Heish at B-Heish22, Heish Hoops.
I'll be in Raleigh.
Yeah.
I'll be in Raleigh, baby. I'm going to win 2 games in Raleigh. I'm going to win 2.
Love it. Appreciate you, Bart. Have a great time. Enjoy the madness.
You, buddy. Awesome, man. Love it with Bart Heish every Thursday. He'll join us again next week. He's heading to Mississippi State and Baylor in Raleigh. That game tomorrow.
Tomorrow night? Tomorrow early, I'm sorry. Yep.
Yeah, certainly.
We'll be back to wrap it up in just a moment. I am in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. It's, again, in association with Yellowhammer News. It's Longshore and McKnight, presented by Bud Light.
Book tee time sooner. Save on every round. That's what you get with the 2025 RTJ Trail Card. Destination Golf is closer than you might think. Buy a 2025 Trail Card and save every time you play. Plus, you will be automatically entered into the Trails Loyalty Program. Enjoy 10-day advance reservation privileges at each location. 11-day advanced internet tee times on rtjgolf.com and the RTJ app. Enjoy the benefits of a 2025 Trail Card. It makes for a great stocking stuffer, and you save on every round you play in 2025 on the Robert Trent Jones Golf Trail.
In sports, if you think joy only happens after you win, think again. Look at the world's most successful athletes like Serena Williams, Brooks Koepka, and Alex Morgan. They don't spend all their days grinding away. They take time to enjoy themselves, like getting together with friends over a Michelob Ultra, because they know that happiness is the key to winning, and that joy is the whole game, not just the end game. Michelob Ultra. 95 calories, 2.6 grams of carbs. It's only worth it if you enjoy it. Enjoy responsibly. AB Michelob Ultra Light Beer, St. Louis, Missouri.
Why Hands? At Hands Heating and Air, you get this area's highest ranked service provider with 24-hour repair service, no overtime charges, and their same-day service guarantee. Plus, instead of other companies' 30-day repair warranty, Hands gives you a 3-year repair warranty. Hands Heating and Air is here for you 24/7, 365. And service is not just something they do, it's their way of operating, for you in mind. All of Hands employees are trained to adhere to this standard. They work hard to ensure that this standard is maintained, and they are constantly looking for new ways to better serve you. Call Hands Heating and Air today at 508-5382. That's 508-5382, or find them on the web at 834hands.com. Okay, back at it, about 5 minutes to the top of the hour. Probably going to wait on the Victoryland 777 topic, Will, tomorrow. I know we'll have a little bit more time to go into all of the topics. Gurn hit us hard yesterday. Those were awesome. We're looking forward to seeing what Gurn has in store for us tomorrow on our Victoryland 777 topic, Will. Barry, by my count, everybody has got about 2 hours and 14 minutes to get in on the tournament bracket challenge. Yeah, I know a lot of people have been getting in. I've been getting a lot of response on it. They love the QR code. They love being able to enter in this fashion. It's very easy. I know, Barry, if you go to Longshore McKnight on Instagram, it pops up there. You can certainly find it easily that way. Several other ways to check it out as well. But really appreciate everybody getting on the tournament bracket challenge. But Barry, at 11:15 Central Time today, I hate to be just, a little insensitive and harsh about it, but you're out. If you're not in by 11:15, you're out. It's that simple.
Yep. That's Creighton, Louisville, tip-off time. The first game, the first tip-off of the field of 64, and that's our traditional cutoff. As one of my very Christian friends would say, if you enter in at 11:17, you are PPOL, which stands for poo-poo out of luck. If you don't have it in by then. And here's also something you can do. I've done it with a couple of my buddies as well. You can screenshot that QR code and just, text it to your buddies or whatever, and they can take it and access it as well. It doesn't have to be just people in the area. This is nationwide, this is worldwide, John.
Yes.
We look forward to a big.
Yeah, somebody asked me that, Barry, because our good friends at the Montgomery Regional Airport, when we were broadcasting yesterday, providing a $1,000 travel voucher to our grand prize champion. And certainly they'd love for you to use it out of MGM. But, if you're viewing out in Spokane, Washington, or Syracuse, New York, or Naples, Florida, it doesn't. You use it from your most convenient airport. We certainly understand that. But, if you do have the opportunity to use it from MGM, we strongly would recommend that you do so for the ease and convenience of traveling out of MGM. Check it out at flymgm.com. Also, Barry, our good friends at Phoenix Physical Therapy, getting you back in the game is what Phoenix Physical Therapy is all about. Robert Kahn and his staff do an excellent job there. Locations throughout Central Alabama. River Region Straw, Kenny and his team provide the absolute best looking pine straw you can have for your property. Long Nibble Pine Straw. Call or text Kenny today, 669-5959. And, of course, the Destin Connection Seafood Market, the freshest seafood arriving daily from the Gulf of America.
Yeah,
that's right.
There you go. You got to know that my guy Philip is probably already awake, already got some coffee in him. He might be on his way right now to Rupp Arena to get there early. John and I had seen him early at public events. Actually, it was a couple of years ago at SEC Media Days. Remember when it was held in downtown Atlanta at the College Football Hall of Fame? John and I were doing the show from the second level of the College Football Hall of Fame, and the actual interview sessions were going on with the print media, about 150 seats down on the bottom level. John, we were just about to come out of a commercial break. John elbows me in the ribs and points down there, and we look down there, and there's Philip down there sleeping in the middle of the chair.
As he makes his way to
there was actually somebody actually talking. It's not like in between interview sessions. So Philip might be there, but he might be sitting at Rupp Arena kind of snoozing. Auburn and Alabama State in the Battle of Montgomery Regional. It'll be 1:50 this afternoon, and it'll be on CBS. Not going to be an upset there.
No.
But it'll be a good show for Auburn fans.
I wonder, Barry, as Philip makes his way to Rupp Arena, is he thinking, can Auburn win today?
Only time will tell.
Only time will tell.
That's the Philippist of Philippi things. Hey, thanks very much to Jason Caldwell from AuburnUndercover.com for joining us. Rodney Orr, TiderInsider.com. Bart Heish already has hit the coffee big time, picking the outright upset. Troy over Kentucky tomorrow night. Appreciate Gurren Jr., our man Warren, for coordinating all of this and riding herd on the show and getting it going.
All right, so tomorrow we'll be recapping what happened today in the first round of the NCAA tournament, getting you ready for tomorrow's action as well, which will include Alabama and Troy in their games tomorrow. So we'll be obviously talking about that along with a lot of other good stuff. So make sure you join us. I'll be at Stivers Ford Montgomery. Barry will be in Milwaukee, and we want you to be a part of what we do as well. In conjunction with our friends at Yellowhammer News and yellowhammernews.com. Man, we appreciate it.
Yep. Longshore and McKnight, presented by Bud.